Hey, it's Wes. Welcome and thanks for listening to a special bonus episode of Look Both Ways with David and Wes. Last week, David and I were both in Fort Lauderdale to give talks at the 2026 Safe Road Summit. As part of this, we were fortunate to be asked to record our podcast live on stage in front of a studio audience. This is definitely the first time we've done that, and it also happens to be the first time we've ever had a guest on the show. So joining us in this episode is Greg Stuart, who is the Executive Director of the Broward County MPO. We ended up having some fun conversations about trains running over delivery robots, why that part of the country always shows up among the least safe, especially for pedestrians, as well as how managed lanes went from being a political grenade to being not only the norm, but pretty well liked. And then we even had some rail drinks at the end. So thanks for listening, and thanks to all those that joined us live in person in Fort Lauderdale, and on with the show.
Good afternoon. It is great to be with all of you here in sunny South Florida. I am David Zipper, and this podcast usually begins by saying welcome to Look Both Ways with David and Wes, pragmatic conversations about all things transportation. But this is a special occasion. This is really, we should be saying Look Both Ways with David and Wes and Greg, because we're all here in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, and we're looking both ways.
So, Wes, it's good to see you here on stage with me in person, not thousands of miles apart.
No, this is the first time we've done this together in the same place. We've usually been in different states or countries whenever we tape these, so this is fun.
And Greg, thank you for having us here.
You know, it's been remarkably interesting, the entire 2 days that you have been with us and the different presentations both of you have made. Thank you for the contribution of your experiences in building safer streets. And
well, I appreciate that. So we're at the tail end of the Safe Road Summit, and over the last couple of days, both Wes and I gave keynotes. I gave a talk about autonomous vehicles, and Wes spoke about safe streets. But maybe for for those who will be listening and watching later on, I think it'd be great, Greg, if you could tell us a little bit of about the history and sort of the reasons behind creating the Safe Road Summit.
So the year before we did our first Safe Road Summit, there was a child who lost their life on a road called Old Dixie Highway in the city of Fort Lauderdale. Mm-hmm. The child was on the way to an elementary school, and a truck ran them over. A woman, actually homeowner's resident, reached out to us and said, there's got to be something you can do. And it was like, okay, well, we need to do something. We looked at the situation. I went and met with the family personally, and I came back to my team members and I said, well, what if we did a training session? Mm-hmm. And it actually started out as a little bit less than 50 people in a room talking about how roads should be designed and what the impacts on people's lives are with the roadway. And what does it mean to the families, both the folks that still have people alive, mm-hmm. and what it meant to the people that actually lost their lives in a way that they shouldn't have to. And we had the first group together, and it was down at the Fishing Hall of Fame, an amazing little venue, small little place. And it was pretty awesome. Everybody liked it. Got back to the office about, the next week, because we did it on a Thursday, Friday. And my team goes, wasn't that awesome? We were awesome. Isn't this great? I'm like, what would be more awesome? What are you going to do next year? Mm-hmm. And it, was one of those challenges. It's like, we can make a difference, and we're supposed to go out and educate people about what transportation is. Mm-hmm. And that is what this ultimately is a giant education system. And, as it's grown and expanded, I didn't necessarily think it was a good idea to have 3, 4, 5 of them in the state. Let's kind of maximize our abilities, especially, I've got 6 million people here. So, we started sharing the responsibilities with my partners to the north and south.
So it's Palm Beach County, Miami-Dade, and Broward coming together.
Correct. That's kind of neat.
Yeah. I've been to a lot of street safety conferences, Wes. I think you have too. This is one of the largest I've ever seen. How many attendees did you have this year?
We were a little over 500 this year, and
that's great.
We're breaking records, and unfortunately, we had to charge a little bit more because the food costs have gone up. But
Nice.
it happens.
This is definitely one of the bigger ones. Like I went to one in Australia recently, and they only had 600 or 700, and they said they were the biggest in the world. So you're right behind that.
Well, that's good to know.
Just behind
There's a data
Australia.
point.
Just behind Australia. So what we're going to do, the plan is to sort of follow the general structure of the Look Both Ways podcast for those who may not have listened to it or watched it before. You can easily find it if you're curious. But Wes and I always start with a little piece we call Word on the Street, which is an item in the news that we think is noteworthy and worthy of discussion. And we're going to walk through the whole agenda, actually, with a little South Florida flavor, topics we think are of particular note here in this corner of the United States. And it's not really news now, but a few weeks ago, it certainly was local news that bounced around, Greg. You showed us the video where a Brightline train, the Brightline trains run between Miami and Orlando, met a sidewalk robot. And it wasn't really a fair fight. Can you tell us what happened? We're going to put the video in the show notes, but go ahead.
If you run the video, the fun part of this, these on-street delivery robots that are in multiple of our cities have the great opportunity to, instead of being barked at by a dog, get confused on the FEC railroad tracks. And, they're kind of cute little boxes with little happy eyes and a little happy smile on it. And, they're lit at night. They kind of look like a little robot. And it went onto the railroad tracks and decided to stop working. And, the Brightline train's going 60 miles an hour.
I mean, are we sure it didn't have like suicidal thoughts or something?
Well, that's a really good point. We didn't necessarily interview the family of the box to find out if it had emotional distress. And maybe in some future effort, we will try to protect the boxes a little bit better, the delivery vehicles. But, when you put a train, and this is actually serious, because we've had a bunch of fatalities on the railroad tracks from the train.
Yeah.
And it's not like the train is reaching out and crushing people and coming back down. It's, people are getting in the train's direct path. And so, a lot of the issues that we're seeing in that area is a mental health issue. And so while we made light of it, the reality is maybe it was having a circuit board issue that none of us will ever know about, and it stopped working. But, it kicked its ass.
It was annihilated. It was just gone.
Do people I guess I'm curious what the reaction was here among South Floridians when they saw that video. Do people like those sidewalk robots, or like, yeah, it got what was coming to it?
Why don't we ask the people?
Look at it. How about you clap if the robot got what it deserved?
That's actually like at least half the crowd, I think.
I was in Miami a couple months ago, and they were everywhere. And half of them were just stuck in the grassy area between the sidewalk and the street. Like,
it wasn't built for that. Four-wheeling is not its role.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, this is actually like a genuinely controversial topic of like are sidewalks for people or are sidewalks for people and robots?
Well, and the interesting thing, and I don't know if you've had the chance to really utilize many of our sidewalks here. They're also utility boxes. They're also power poles. Where is this box on wheels fitting into the overall assignment? And it's legal. The legislature in Tallahassee said, hey, we should have these things. But maybe they shouldn't be on the sidewalks all the time.
I mean, I saw a lot in the bike lanes, too, when I was down in Miami. Like, it was just using it at a much slower speed than a bike would be, so you can imagine them getting in the way.
They're not supposed to be in bike lanes in Broward.
Is that right?
Yeah. So to share with you, the box itself should either be on the sidewalk or on the street. And it's probably safer on the bike lane. But that said, sidewalk isn't really big enough. There are a lot of sidewalks here that are very deficient.
Well, I know we've got a couple other topics we want to talk about, but it's unfortunate in a sense to me that when I look at the national issue of sidewalk robots, you wish that, or at least I wish, these companies would recognize, okay, we need good sidewalks to deliver the burrito to the person who ordered it, so we're going to lobby the state legislature for investing in sidewalks. But instead of doing that, what I've seen, and this is especially in Pennsylvania a few years ago, I won't speak to Florida, these companies have lobbied state legislature to block cities throughout the whole state from doing anything to regulate these sidewalk robots, the preemption play.
Right.
And to me, that's unfortunate. Has that happened here in Florida?
Oh, absolutely. That's just, the intention is good.
Is it?
I don't think they're like thinking, I'm going to get my robots and have them attack the Brightline train. But, I think the intention is it's like providing services to the public. Having never had a delivery, and my building has them all the time, all around. My dogs love to bark at them and then jump on them. And I actually tried to figure out how to open one the other day, but it wasn't that easy.
So are they heated? Are they cooled? Like, did your coffee show up hot? Like,
what my neighbor told me, who actually got it delivered by one, it is cooled.
Okay.
It's cool.
Or it's just not on. So that way hot meals stay hot, cold meals stay cold.
It's like a thermos.
Yeah, it's like a giant thermos with little headlights.
I don't actually know if it's like a thermos.
No, I kept seeing ads for a free coffee. If you sign up to use the service, you get a free coffee. I was like, I don't know if I want a cold coffee coming.
I don't disagree with you. And we get the coladas, for those of you who know what they are. And this is a South Florida thing. And it's just like, oh, hey, they show up in these vehicles. And it's like, oh, this is wonderful. It really is. But when they're cold, it's like, not so good.
Yeah, it's a valid question. Let's switch to Roundabout. This is the section of the podcast where Wes and I traditionally pick a topic we think is just worthy of discussion. It's something that caught our interest. And Wes, I feel like you may have some thoughts about road safety in this part of the country.
Well, yeah, we are at the Safe Road Summit, and
Seems
yesterday
appropriate.
you did say that we are in one of the least safe places in the country.
Yes, welcome.
But it's also a place.
Come back again soon.
At the same time, you've been having this amazing summit for a dozen years plus, right? So, I guess my big question is why do you think this persists? I mean, there's the Smart Growth America report, Dangerous by Design, and they list the top 20 dangerous areas for pedestrians. There's always a lot from Florida. I think there's 8 out of 20 now.
Yeah.
And you guys are still one of them.
We've actually gone down the ratings.
Yeah.
And we've actually reduced the number of pedestrian incidents down pretty good. That said, there are just so many. We have so many people that come here that also live here that are used to places that don't necessarily have the traffic rules that other places have. Like you go to California, you know how people actually stop when you walk across the street or even come off the curb? That would never happen here. You're just, you're in their way. I almost got run over the other day going from my place to the Greek food festival at the Greek church. And this guy's just like, yeah, it's a continuous right. I can do whatever I want, even though I'm this pedestrian in a crosswalk. It is what it is. People drive here the way they're accustomed from whatever part of the country or world they come from. And so there's the challenges that we don't necessarily, when we issue driver's license, we don't necessarily have them tested for, hey, do you understand what the rules are here?
So do you think, if somebody comes from another part of the country and maybe they drive safe where they live elsewhere, do they come here and start behaving more like folks do here? Or does that culture engulf them and they become...
I can tell you from experience that they become part of the system. They might drive safe in California because we've got a lot of people relocating. And then they come here and they're like, I can go really fast here. Let's go fast. And there's people trying to cross the street and they don't care. The culture indoctrinates you in a way, and that's something that is unique to automobile and bicycle traffic in this place. And I don't think it's any different. I drive in Mexico and I'm very aggressive. I really am. You go to Rome, you go to Athens. I mean, they drive on sidewalks in Athens. There's no such thing as, a sidewalk. It's like it's just another lane for the car to go in. So I think it's just a part of the culture.
So I would also say that I think, engineering design, engineering infrastructure can guide behavior. It can nudge people one way or the other.
Oh, yeah.
So is there something here about the infrastructure? that is nudging people in that direction. Like, there's something we can change to start nudging people in the other direction.
Well, the interesting thing, and we're working, we work with the cities, we work with the county, we work with the state DOT to try to put the necessary infrastructure in. But I'm going to share another interesting thing about South Florida. And I don't know why this happens, but for some reason, there's a lot of people getting on the wrong ramp onto the interstate highway system.
Huh.
And I'm like, this is, are they drunk? Are they high? I don't have the answer to that.
Is that a particularly South Florida phenomenon? Right on the wrong side of the highway?
Yeah, my experience with this is yes. My uncle, years ago, I was in the back of his big Lincoln Town car. He passes Broward Boulevard and goes, "Oh, I passed Broward Boulevard." He puts his car in reverse on the interstate highway and to go back to the exit ramp instead of going to the next exit. So was he like that in Pennsylvania? Absolutely not. Why he felt this way here, I don't know. Maybe it's the water.
So Florida creates Florida men, is what you're saying.
Yes, it does. It's a unique thing to Florida. And, I think it's the combination of heat and pharmaceutical drugs.
When my book first came out, like, a little bit of the pushback I got from the engineering community, who didn't even read the book at the time, but they were like, people go wrong way on the highway. What the hell are we supposed to do? It's not our fault. And my point was, like, we can do something. Like, I know what Colorado's doing now. Like, instead of having a green ball on the off-ramp, it's a green arrow to tell you to keep going straight. Like, something little like that. I mean, there are states that are doing much more higher tech stuff. Like, if they can tell a car is coming onto the off-ramp, like spike tires, like things like that.
Well, yeah, the spike tires. There's one thing that it's a low-tech solution. Car rental car companies use them all the time. What if there were spikes so that way if you started going up the ramp, you're done. That's it.
That was my point. Like, we shouldn't just say it's a human error problem, do nothing. There's something we can do. Like,
well, there's always something to do. The question is, and this is the value that we all have to face. It's how much money we can spend on these solutions. And while that's a low-tech, low-cost item, there's 16,000 other things that need to be done in that location.
Well, but is it really just money, or is it also prioritization? Because
I love that question.
Yeah, I mean, well, in a car-oriented place, people don't necessarily like the idea of road diets or speed humps. I have to imagine, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
they don't like cameras.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've been. How long have you been leading the MPO?
I've been here in this MPO 17 years. 17 years,
wow. Well, I guess I feel I'm really curious. It's a question that I have. Being, Florida is a pretty red state now. Road safety is now, I think, unfortunately, often been coded as a blue issue, although I don't think that's really fair. I'm just curious, when you work with people in Tallahassee or at the state level, or people here in South Florida who are basically across the political spectrum, are there particular arguments or ideas or claims you found are really useful in helping people sort of elevate the ideas or agree with the ideas you have for how to save lives?
I think a lot of the red-blue divide in transportation, it never should happen because it's agnostic. We all need to have the roads. The question is how you communicate the desire, what you're trying to accomplish. Mm-hmm. Eliminating lanes for the purpose of eliminating lanes isn't necessarily the right thing to do. Maybe you need to look at what the road is supposed to do at that location and say, all right, well, is this a place? And we have a little area north of here that had a whole bunch of clubs and bars, and it was a 5-lane facility. And, every 3-4 weeks to a month, you'd have crashes, injuries, fatalities. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are drinking. They roll into the street. They're not necessarily paying attention. A lot of the folks that are there are a little bit older, so they've lost some of their sight and so forth. And so this was happening. And the city itself said, hey, maybe we could look at a road diet in that location. It was a state road, and we worked with the state DOT. The irony is we widened the sidewalks, put in pedestrian infrastructure, did all of the things that were necessary. The throughput actually increased. Why did that happen? Because there were less accidents that blocked the road completely, which then forced, it was a really strange thing to occur in the analysis side that none of us would have thought. Because how do you increase capacity?
I just saw a stat, I think, Wes, you can confirm this, I think like a quarter of all congestion is due to crashes.
Something like that.
Yeah,
and
it's
there's so much
non-recurring,
transportation
obviously.
is counterintuitive. Like you think one thing will happen, and it's the opposite. Like if we actually take away a lane, it's more efficient and more cars can get through. They
Correct.
just do it a little bit slower, but overall you're getting more capacity.
Except I don't. Can you legally take away a lane in Florida now? I thought the state had basically said you cannot remove traffic lanes.
Well, the desire line is to keep the facilities the same. But you still can.
You still can.
Yeah.
I thought there was some sort of a constraint on maybe it was replacing a traffic lane with the bus rapid transit lane. Or something like that.
There you
can't
go.
do that.
No, and it actually, I mean, and I'm very pro-transit, so I'm not, let's not say that I'm not, but it does make sense. If you get rid of a lane on a 6-lane facility to put a bus lane in, you still have the same issue with the number of people moving. You know, our buses are carrying maybe less than 1% of the total traveling. And so, you know, even if I up that to 3%, that still means I've lost the capacity of the roadway. So there's like these really weird things.
There is a threshold where you could
Kept
get
it back.
more capacity through on the throughput overall. And if you're counting people instead of cars, basically. Like,
But even if I count people, that's what I'm trying to say. It's like,
if you get fast headways that are close enough together.
and that's the trick.
Right.
You have to be running at 10-minute or 5-minute headways on the corridor, and we don't have the facility. We don't have the buses to do
I mean,
that.
some of the downtown Denvers we converted over to bus only, but those are some streets that have like 3 or 4 bus lines on that street. And they're getting a lot more people through. It's just very different.
We have this really unique situation here in downtown Fort Lauderdale, and Christopher Restrepo, who you know from this conference, he and I were working together on an idea, and this is, again, something it's counterintuitive to what we do for a living, is actually come up with a one-way pair, which was the way downtown was originally laid out. But in that one-way pair, you would have had a dedicated bus lane that would circulate folks in downtown, and it was, 2 blocks wide. And so, you'd have circulators going around. We could have increased capacity, we could have increased bus usage, we could have increased transit usage, you could have widened out the sidewalks, there could have been a cycle track put in, because you have a lot of real estate.
Yeah.
But they were like, oh no, we don't want to do that. This is bad. And the developers were like, oh no, people aren't going to be able to find my stores, because, you can't go around a circle in a block.
Right.
So, it's really fascinating. But, there's so many opportunities that we have, and it'll come back. The mayor was here today touting how great downtown is, and I can tell you it's wonderful. I live there. But could the pedestrian facilities get better? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will
No, I mean,
they?
even the limited exposure Wes and I had, it was pretty clear there were opportunities to extend the sidewalks and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, you were on Los Olas probably, right?
Yeah, we did. We liked Las Olas.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, right?
We don't. It was very cool. We don't have a whole lot of time, but I would love to at least briefly touch on my roundabout topic, because I'm really curious about this one. Here in South Florida, we're in like one of the national hubs of managed lanes.
Yes.
Which you've been involved. You've been for 17 years. You must have seen this the whole way through.
Yes, I have. I'm married to them.
We don't have a ton of time, but I'd love to hear just like a little bit of the history, like how it came to be, but also like what happened with like the politics of it, because it sounds like it was super controversial at first, and now it's just part of life. Tell us.
So managed lanes started with a grant that actually, the irony, Miami-Dade applied for a roadway grant for 95 and District 6 down in Miami. It just serves Broward people going into downtown Miami to get to work. So it really didn't help their issues. But that was the first ones that were put in. Their lanes were not subpar. They didn't have turnoff and all the rest of it. But then we started talking about what we could do here in Broward. And man, was it controversial. It was just like, we don't want these Lexus lanes. We don't want this. I thought,
and again, I probably should have explained this up front. For those who may not be familiar, there definitely be some who listen to the podcast who may not. But managed lanes basically are when you charge a fee that usually it fluctuates based on congestion, right? In some lanes of it,
Actually, that's the most fascinating part too.
Okay.
The more they charge, the more traffic they have in the lanes.
How is that possible? Because some of the lanes get a charge, and the other lanes are free.
Like, if the lane costs that much, there must be traffic ahead. I got to jump in.
I got to jump in it. It's the most counterintuitive
it's
fee
psychology.
system. Yeah, I absolutely find it fascinating. And people, oh my God, it's $11.50. I need to get over into the managed lane. Why am I sitting in traffic? And Google Maps has it green and then a red line, and you're sitting in this thing where you're paying $11 to go nowhere.
You just got a research study for me to do.
But don't people realize it then? They're like, well, I just paid like however many dollars because it was expensive. I thought I was going to save time, but now I see everybody's moving just as quickly in the free lanes right next to me.
That's, yeah.
Don't they learn?
Well, we'll have that conversation another day.
Yeah.
This is Florida.
So now, though, is there still controversy around the managed lanes, or are people like, this is part of our system and we need it?
My board rarely has divided boats, and it went back and forth and back and forth. The winner of one would be jockeying the next month and come back and bring the thing forward. Once they got built, there was the realization that the service folks and the plumbers and the electricians could get to their appointments faster with those lanes and could charge the cost off to the client who they're waiting for their air conditioning to be fixed. It's hot here. So, that's the value to where they went.
Mm-hmm. So was that all it took for people to be able to see it, feel it, taste it, try it? Like once they saw it in action, they were on board? Because it was... To go from being so controversial to just being completely accepted seems like it should be such a fascinating story, but it's like, oh no, we just tried it and it worked, we're good.
And it's amazing because we put it on lots of facilities. The legislature doesn't want them, which is also fascinating, but they're working here. And they work well. The Port Everglades Expressway, 595, is a reversible toll facility, and it was a P3. That by itself is way advanced 595 by about 25 years. We'd be still talking about improving that road if those managed lanes weren't there. So the generation, it's really fast. Again, it's a fascinating dichotomy that doesn't make sense, but it's that same faith we have in transit vehicles. Well, if we put transit down and people see it moving, it will fill up.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have, you have to try it. And then once you try it, then you might continue to do it. The managed lanes people ultimately were willing to try.
No, it's really interesting. I'm familiar with some of the research on managed lanes. I've been researching it. I believe the first ones that existed were SR 91 in Orange County, California, which was in the early 90s. And I spoke with an economist who's now retired who looked into those lanes, and he made a point that it was exactly the same as yours, Greg. He said that there was a lot of fear about Lexus lanes and equity effects, like you're just going to make low-income people be stuck in traffic. But what turned out was that low-income people are often, they have to pick up their kids at daycare.
Correct.
They might be having shift jobs at a retailer where they really need to be there on time, and they are more than happy to pay a few dollars to make it there on time rather than be stuck in traffic, which they would be obligated to do without the presence of those lanes. So the sort of equity Lexus lane argument kind of falls apart when you look at who's actually supporting these. The popular, at least for SR 91, and this is, I think, again, it's like 30 plus years of data, it really is consistent across the income spectrum. Everybody likes it.
And that's the thing. You look at what happened in San Diego, same situation. You look at what they do coming out of LA, going into heading towards Vegas. Those managed lanes, but they don't have the cones like we do.
Yeah.
Because people in California are very polite when they drive. But here, we like knocking the little cones over.
I don't know that Californians would agree with that statement, Greg, but we can leave it there. That's all right.
So is there anything else you see in the same vein that if we only tried it, it would work?
Well, and that's the challenge, because I do believe you have to try almost everything to make sure that it does work or doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, then you can get rid of it. Paint is easy to remove. Mm-hmm. Florida DOT has proven that. So it's really a matter of, it really is a matter of saying, okay, well, let's try this, see if this works, and then we can go back. A lot of, when you do a roadway, and we're talking about doing a diet, it's actually easier to paint it and try to get into a situation than spending the millions of dollars it would take to put in the curb and gutter and sewer. So you can test a lot of things out. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're in that weird world where it's like it's become a R&D issue versus being what is good for the public and how do we get there. Yeah. And I think pendulums swing hard many ways. I think that pendulum swing, if we could get back to where transportation is the great middle, I think that we'll be able to get back to where we can test things out, make it work.
Well, you say we need to try things. I think we should try a drink.
I think that's a great idea.
So we always end Look Both Ways with what we call rail drinks. Get it? Because we record it around happy hour time, and Wes and I usually pick a drink of our choice and do a little toast to welcome the evening. And we actually are recording this at happy hour time. There's a reception with alcohol right afterwards, I believe.
Yes,
so this feels appropriate.
They're all waiting for us to have a drink.
Yeah, hurry the heck up. I should stop talking. So what are you guys drinking, first of all?
Well, we all have a margarita because
because we're in Southern California. Southern
Florida.
Southern California.
Yeah.
And margarita and tequila, they're pretty close to to everyone's heart down
fair.
here.
And it's 5 o'clock here, so
That's right. That's
It
right.
is 5, yes, absolutely. Listen, salt on a rim, and then what is that? The spice?
I got the
spicy
tahini
one.
one. I went for
Yeah.
the spicy margarita.
I respect it.
I like it spicy.
Yeah, it's
respect
good
it.
for you.
Well, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Greg, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for coming down. We appreciate it.
Thank you all for
Thank
being
you
here.
for being there.